Hello, Eric Sheptock coming at you. So I'm sitting in, I was sitting in the Starbucks, which is now behind me, on my computer, making plans for this coming weekend, the 1 year anniversary of the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, where counter-protester Heather Heyer, who was speaking out against the racist, was killed. So Unite the Right is going to meet here in D.C. They have stuff going on from August 10th to August 12th. Their external activities, the things that happen outside in the open, are going to take place on August 11th and 12th, I believe. I don't have their schedule memorized, but I know that their big event is going to be on August 12th. They're going to gather at the Vienna subway station. For those of you who live in DC Metro, they're going to gather by 2 p.m. at the Vienna Metro, and then they're going to be in transit between 2 and 3 p.m. They're going to exit at the Foggy Bottom subway station near George Washington University campus. And then they're going to march about a half mile from the Foggy Bottom exit to the White House complex. They're scheduled to begin their activities at the White House around 5:30. It doesn't take that long to march a half mile, so there's going to be some other stuff happening in between, of course. So I want all of you out there who want to speak out against the racists, against these Trump supporters, to know the schedule and to come on out. Unite the Right does have a very pretty website. I love purple, that's my favorite color, but their purpose, though, of course, is not good. But I wanted to make this video primarily for the purpose of pointing out that I'm an Oreo who can speak to the issue of black-white unity. The average racist, when they look at me, they just see a black man. They don't see a black man with a Polish last name who was adopted by a deceased Polish man. He wasn't deceased when he adopted me, by the way. And an Italian woman. And so they don't see any of my Caucasian influences. They just see a black man, and they just hate me for the color of my skin. But that said, there's not a racist bone in my body. Of course, some people will tell you that there's no such thing as reverse racism because blacks don't have the political power and the wealth per capita that whites have, and so we don't even have the resources necessary to implement a system of socioeconomic oppression or suppression, because that's what defines racism. Hating me for the color of my skin makes you a bigot, not a racist. Having the ability to implement a system that holds me down socioeconomically because of the color of my skin, that's what makes you a racist. Isms are systems. Fascism is a system. Racism is a system. But anyway, people don't notice my Caucasian influences. They just see me as a black man who they hate because he's got a nicer tan than they have. But also, I want to say that this location behind me, which isn't showing all that well, you can see the Starbucks umbrella there, but it's significant for another reason. You see, January 22nd is the anniversary of Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court decision that legalized abortion in 1973. So The Catholic Church makes it a point to organize a march every year on that date. But in 2017, we had the inauguration of Donald Trump on January 20th, and then the Women's March, which is, which was a left-wing function, took place on January 21st. Many of the people at the Women's March are pro-abortion, or as some say, pro-choice. And so the Catholic Church decided to put their march off for 5 days. So on January 27th, they had the pro-life march, 2017. And I came into the Starbucks, which I frequent, and I saw 3 pregnant white women sitting at a 4-seater table. There was only 1 seat left in the house, and that was obviously at that table. So I went over and I asked if I could share the table with them, and they said sure. And we ended up talking for like 45 minutes. At the end of those 45 minutes, one of the women stood up and said, as she was getting ready to leave, she said, "Eric, when I first saw you, I had certain assumptions I'd made about you. You're a middle-aged black man with his cap turned backwards, and I made certain assumptions. But after speaking to you, those assumptions have been turned on their heads. Well, don't judge a book by its cover. I'm an Oreo. I would say that my chocolate outside has kind of begun to overpower my white middle, but nonetheless, I am not a bigot at all. I don't hate anybody for the color of their skin or for their nationality. And I can even cross the aisle and talk with Unite the Right and other racists. And I'm willing to do that. And I actually have YouTube video where I'm conversing with somebody who had gone to a Koch brothers event. Not that they're racist. I mean, I don't know if they are, but during Occupy DC, it was another us versus them sort of thing, but it was the 99% against the 1% wealthiest. And I was ready, willing, and able to cross the aisle and speak with the wealthy class, and I did just that until a young black man decided to become so disruptive that we pretty much had to stop the conversation. But you can check out my YouTube videos from the fall of 2011, and you can see that I am willing to talk to the opposition. If someone who I perceive to be an enemy is willing to have a meaningful conversation with me, then I will have that meaningful conversation with you. But anyway, I think that we all should get to that place. And that is basically my primary message to humanity, is that no matter how you feel, and no matter who you think is against you, and no matter who you're against, you should always be ready, willing, and able to have meaningful conversation, regardless of how much of a difference there is between you and them. And should be ready, willing, and able to work things out. Because if you can't have that meaningful conversation with the opposition, then you're never going to find any common ground, and you're never going to work things out, and you're just going to have another 100-year war. So with that, I'll just kind of close out and say that, once again, that I do believe that I'm in a good position to unite or to create some black-white unity, or to at least help in that respect. And I'll cut it off there.